at Brigham Young called for all saints to gather west in Zion. President Young's council brought thousands of European immigrants to the United States. These immigrants were organized into handcart companies and began their trek west. A total of 10 handcart companies traveled to Salt Lake City between 1856 and 1860. 8 of the 10 companies successfully arrived in Salt Lake City. The 2 largest companies, however, met with tragedy. Companies were led by James G. Willey and Edward Martin and are known as the Willey Martin Handcart Companies. They had over 500 souls in each company. Among the members of the Willey Handcart Company was a 9-year-old Danish girl named Bodil Mortensen. Back in Denmark, Bodil's father Niels was a weaver by trade, and therefore his family did not have enough money to come over altogether. Bodil was the 4th of their 5 children and was sent over in the care of their family friends, the Jens and Elsie Nielsen family. Due to circumstances beyond their control, members and leaders of the Willey Martin Handcart Company had to decide whether they were going to stay behind in Iowa City or continue on very late in the season. Decision was reached to carry on towards the valley. So on July 15, 1856, the Willey Martin Handcart Company left Iowa City. Over the next several months, these saints would encounter harsh snowstorms, cut rations, and unimaginable suffering. A howling October snowstorm blinded 10-year-old Bodil as she climbed with several other children, including James Kirkwood, shivering and hungry up the snow-covered slope of Rocky Ridge in the high plains of Wyoming. From the beginning of the journey, Bodil was tasked with taking care of Jens and Elsie's 5-year-old son Niels. This became more critical as Jens fell ill and Elsie had to pull him in the cart. While adults wrestled handcarts up the steep trail, Bodil and the younger children fought their way through the snow, wind, and freezing temperatures to get to Rock Creek. Rock Creek Hollow was 12 miles away, but the journey took them nearly 27 hours. After ensuring little Niels had made it safely to camp, exhausted and weak, intrepid young Bodil closed her eyes for the last time after gathering sagebrush for the morning's fire. On October 25, 1856, Bodil was buried in a mass grave with 12 other saints who had passed away in the night. Meanwhile, in Salt Lake City, Brigham Young, who previously had been unaware of the saints traveling and stranded in the snow, gathered together and said this: "Brothers and sisters, many of our brethren and sisters are still out on the plains with handcarts. They must be brought here. We must send assistance to them. The subject matter for this community is to send for them and bring them in before the winter sets in. That is my religion. That is the dictation of the Holy Ghost that I possess. It is to save the people. I shall not wait until tomorrow nor the next day. I want 60 good mule teams and 12 or 15 wagons. I want 12 tons of flour and 40 good young men as teamsters. Let me make myself perfectly clear. I will tell you that all your faith, all your religion, and all your profession of religion will never save one soul of you in the celestial kingdom of our God, not unless you carry out just such principles as I am now teaching you. Go and bring those people now on the plains." On October 12th, Captain George Grant and the rescue party arrived at Fort Bridger, Wyoming, but the Willey and Martin Handcart Companies were nowhere to be found. About noon on October 19th, the express riders sent forward by Captain Grant located the Willey Company. Their light wagon, with its few pounds of flour, seemed like a thunderbolt out of the clear sky, its drivers like messengers from the courts of glory to the starving company. The rescuers handed out flour, potatoes, onions, bedding, and socks. The young rescuers, with axes in hand, dragged from the distant hills several cords of wood. Bonfires were soon made, and cooking began in earnest until every member of the Willey Company had enough to eat and spare. Even so, 9 deaths occurred that night. The next day, Captain Grant assigned William H. Kimball to take charge of helping the Willie Company come back to Salt Lake City. He left some supply wagons with Kimball and then took 17 men and 9 wagons and headed for Devil's Gate, where the Martin Company was stranded. To relieve overcrowding at Devil's Gate and to provide more protection from the weather, everyone agreed to move the emigrants to a nearby cove, which was later named Martin's Cove in their honor. The Sweetwater River flowed between Devil's Gate and the cove, and it was full of floating ice. Memories of the suffering and deaths caused from crossing the Platte River caused many to cry to the Lord for help. Many of the rescuers began to carry these saints across the Sweetwater, and they made several trips, many of them sacrificing their lives to do so. On November 9th, the Willie Company reached Salt Lake City. On this day, the Martin Company left its cove. Most of them reached the Salt Lake Valley at the end of November. Each handcart company lost more than a sixth of its members. These heroic efforts have come to be known as the first rescue of the Willie and Martin handcart companies.